Now, welcome to another lightning response video. This time we got a question from Josh Thomas who asked, "Hey Thor, not sure if you've discussed this before, but it's something I've been thinking about for a while and wanted to hear your take on it. Do you think it's a good idea to humanize evil in a setting such as Star Wars? Shows like Andor and Filoni's Clone Wars show the human aspect of soldiers, and it does make for great writing when done well, but it then makes scenes like destroying the Death Star in A New Hope a bit melancholic. What once was just a joke about the janitors aboard the Death Star has started to become a bit tragic. It's given a face to the faceless stormtroopers. Anyways, I was curious to hear your 2 cents. Enjoy the channel as always, keep it up." And this is a pretty tricky question because sometimes I'm okay with it. I'm okay with giving a face to the faceless stormtroopers. I think that's kind of an interesting way to go because a lot of the time stormtroopers are not necessarily evil. I know they work for the Empire. They work for a terrible regime. But maybe the most important thing Andor showed us with a character like Cyril Karn, and I discussed him in my most recent Battle of the Heroes and Villains, so I'll kind of skim over it here, but it showed us how easy it is to be a really good person, a well-intended, well-meaning person, which I think Cyril Karn is, and to be influenced by the wrong side and to fall in with the wrong side and fully believe what you're doing is right. Cyril's story starts by trying to catch a murderer that no one else seemed interested in catching, and he eventually gets caught up in many, many other things, including the Gorman massacre. And when he figures out, like, oh, I've been a pawn in this terrible regime the whole time, it breaks him as a person. He is devastated by that. Anyway, I'm fine with that story. I'm fine with showing that a stormtrooper or Cyril Karn or whoever it is just got caught up on the wrong side. I think it happens to real people in the real world all the time. This all reminds me of Hanland's razor, which says that you should never attribute to malice that which is adequately explained by stupidity, or we could put ignorance in there, or misinformation would probably fit very well today. And it basically means just because somebody wrongs you or does something that seems evil doesn't mean that that was their intent, that they were even aware of what they were doing. Like, you get cut off in traffic, for example, and you immediately assume that person is just trying to cut you off because they're an asshole, when in reality, maybe they didn't even see you, or maybe they just were panicking themselves and did something stupid in the moment. You can't just assume, even though we tend to assume, that they were purposely trying to do that to you when they probably have no idea who you even are and don't care who you are because you'll never ever meet again other than in this stupid traffic incident. So, as controversial as it may be to say, I don't really have a problem with the idea that a lot of stormtroopers are not bad people. They are in bad circumstances and they're doing bad things. But I don't think they're waking up in the morning and saying, "I'm so glad I work for a Sith Lord and that I am helping him rule the galaxy." A lot of them probably have no idea how bad the Empire really is. And no, I'm not trying to make excuses for them. I'm sure some of them are aware that they do bad things. I'm sure some of them are very happy that they get to do bad things and they enjoy it and they derive some pleasure from it, even. Which then brings us to the Sith or other dark side users or just really bad people like a Grand Moff Tarkin, for example, who is clearly aware of what he is doing and how wrong it is and does also seem to kind of enjoy it. One of the reasons I didn't like The Acolyte, and there were many, but one of the main reasons I did not like The Acolyte was because it sort of implied that the Sith or the dark side characters in that show were the victims of circumstance, and they had no other choice but to be evil and to do horrible things, that there was no other option for them when there is always a choice. I say it all the time. I believe Star Wars is mainly about the choices we make and the consequences or repercussions that come about because of those choices. Anakin's story is the perfect example of this. Yes, we can feel bad for Anakin. Yes, he was wronged. Yes, he had horrible, horrible things happen to him. He lost his mother. He grew up as a slave. We can be empathetic towards Anakin, but we can't ever excuse the choice he eventually and ultimately made to, well, side with Palpatine. He knew he was a Sith. He knew what could happen if he sided with him and helped him survive the attack by Mace Windu, if you will. He was aware of the consequences of the choice he made before he made the choice, even if he didn't want to believe it, even if he didn't want to think about it, even if it was done with good intent to a degree to save his wife. Like, we can understand that. If you have someone you love in this world, which I hope you do, and someone who loves you back, well, then you can understand wanting to risk the galaxy itself to save them. And so, to just flat out answer the question or reiterate, I think it depends on the story or what characters you're trying to humanize. If you're trying to humanize stormtroopers to some degree and make us question what happened at the end of A New Hope and how many of them died and how many of them probably really weren't the worst people ever, that's one thing. If you're trying to make me feel bad for a character like Palpatine, if you're trying to humanize him and make him a sympathetic villain, when, let's be real, he is fully aware of what he is doing, he doesn't care, he used his own people to further his agenda in The Phantom Menace. This is not a good person. There is no way to excuse any of that. No justification can ever be made for that. And I don't want one. I want to believe, I do believe that there are just some people that make the choice to be evil, that make the choice to embrace selfishness to the extreme. And that is what the Sith represent in Star Wars. So, no, I don't want to see that humanized in any way, shape, or form. The end. All right, and I'm going to do another comment here, and it's kind of actually related to this previous one, or I'm going to relate it to the previous one, as I tend to do. And it comes to us from CT1177, who asked, "Hey Thor, well, I'm always worried that some disgruntled Star Wars fans would look down upon me for enjoying something Disney like Zootopia, for instance. Like, what's wrong with enjoying something like Zootopia? Is it because of the Disney brand and company? That's why I always ask the past questions to you, Thor. What are your thoughts on Disney stuff like Zootopia?" All right, so I'm just going to cut you off there and simply start by saying that you should enjoy whatever you want to like. If you like Zootopia, go ahead and like Zootopia. Now, a lot of people don't think Disney is the greatest company on earth. I don't think Disney is necessarily the greatest company on earth either. But relating it back to the previous question, it's not like everybody who works at Disney, and let's just assume Disney is a terrible, terrible company. But even if that is the case, it's not like every single person who works at Disney or every project they create is evil. It's kind of like how every stormtrooper in the Empire isn't evil, right? Some are there because they have maybe no other choice. That's not a great excuse. The whole "I was just following orders" is not a great excuse. I'm not saying that necessarily. But we're not talking about the Empire here. We're talking about Disney. And yes, some of the people that work there, I'm sure, are greedy corporate assholes, while others are just there to make cool stuff for people to enjoy because they like making stuff, or maybe they work in the theme parks and enjoy that. They enjoy bringing a smile to kids' faces, and that's great. There are probably more good people at Disney than there are bad people at Disney. In fact, I would go out on a limb and say there are definitely a lot more good people working at Disney than there are bad people. And so, since Disney is not trying to take over the galaxy like a Sith Lord, I think, anyway, I'm sure they would like to if they could, I personally don't have a problem with you or anybody else enjoying Disney, being a fan of Disney, or being a fan of this or that. That's perfectly fine by me. Don't let other people dictate what you can or can't enjoy. If you want to watch and love Zootopia, by all means love it. If you want to watch and love Star Wars and you love the sequel trilogy and you love all of it, you love The Acolyte, which, like I said before, not my favorite show. But if you love The Acolyte, who cares if I didn't like it? It doesn't matter. I am just someone on the internet with an opinion that happens to have an audience that I'm, yes, very grateful for. But my opinions are not any more legit or credible than your own or anyone else's. They're just my opinions. You can take them or leave them as you will. Well, I think that is going to be all I got for you this time. Now it is your turn to take to the comments below and tell me what you think about this one. Do you like seeing the bad guys in stories humanized? Do you think the Empire should be humanized, or some of the stormtroopers should be humanized? And what about the Sith? Do you think they should be humanized, or should they just be made out to be villainous bad guys who have no redeeming qualities whatsoever, essentially? Or you can always ask a question for a future lightning response video. Just start your comment off with "Hey Thor," ask your question. I try to answer it in a future video. But whatever the case may be, leave those comments below. Let's talk some Star Wars. And until next time, thanks for watching.